Hey folks. So when everyone's starting out here to load up their squat, we almost always begin with the goblet squat because it's one of the safest and best ways to learn the mechanics under load. But there does get to a point where your strength is going to exceed the amount that you can comfortably hold unless you start making some adjustments. Now, not everyone can, should, or wants to be underneath a barbell. In fact, the number of people who can do that are probably significantly lower than the people who can't. But the amount of weight that you can hold up in the traditional goblet squat position with the kettlebell, a lot of times it's going to become too much for your upper body to hold and not enough to challenge the legs. So what can you do to get around that? Well, maybe we should talk a little bit about that. All right, so I've got here our traditional goblet squat implements, the kettlebell and the dumbbell. Now, to be clear, front loading the squat is often the preferred way of doing the squat because it's not compressing down on top of you like it is with the barbell. It doesn't have to be with a kettlebell or dumbbell. You can use things like a sandbag, slosh pipe, various implements like that, but those are maybe a little less commonly found in your rec center or commercial gym. And even here, getting out the sandbags, loading them up and then putting them away, a lot of times people will just look for something that's a little bit faster and a little bit easier to bring out. Hence the kettlebell and the dumbbell. Now, the traditional kettlebell goblet squat, what happens for a lot of people is as the weight starts getting higher, their upper body strength is exceeded, the amount of strength they have in their upper body is exceeded by the amount of weight that the legs can do. There is a couple of technical things you can do that help with that. One of them is how you hold the bell. Rather than holding it out like this, where by having my elbows at my side and the bell a little bit away, two things are going to happen. It's going to pull you forward and your squat winds up looking maybe a little bit more like that. And the other thing is your biceps are going to wear out. So not only are you relying on your upper body to hold that up, you're actually relying on one of the smallest muscles in the upper body. Well, relatively speaking, we're not talking the minute stabilizing muscles, but one of the smaller large muscle groups, which is the bicep, and they're going to wear out quite a bit faster. So it's going to be pulling you down and you're fighting against that. You're basically doing an isometric curl. So what you can do to get around that technically is clean it up. You get the elbows forward and you keep the kettlebell back about an inch away from the chin. So you see now what's happening is my arms are in tight, my forearms are in tight around the bell, and it's keeping me a lot more upright. So as you're building up, and especially when you're first starting out, that's one way that you can do, or one little tweak that you can put in your technique that might help with the goblet squat. Even still, even using that, there gets a point where, because you're using your grip a lot, it might start to fatigue the upper body faster than it fatigues the legs. And the legs, you don't want to just keep going up in reps and reps and reps if you want to improve on your strength. You need to go up in the weight. So you might want to switch over to a dumbbell. Firstly is picking up the dumbbell, going from the ground. See, a lot of people try and just stand it up and go from there. Not everyone can squat really deep, and even those who can, that's a pretty low squat. So what winds up happening is it's something like looks like this. Okay, now that ain't pretty. So for the goblet squat, the dumbbell goblet squat, what you can do is pick that dumbbell up, put it on one of the boxes, stand it up, and then you just squat down and pick it up. Oh, look at how easy that was, right? The next thing about using the dumbbell is my hands are wedged underneath the end of the bell. Okay, so now it's actually kind of leveraged up there. It's like stable under there. I'm not really using any grip. And even my bicep is not getting used to the same degree because it's directly in line with my forearms, the weight is. Okay? So again, stand it up, pick it up, do your squats. My arms are basically actually squeezing against the dumbbell. Dumbbell is in the same position underneath my chin or close to my chin. Squat up. When I'm done, I can squat down. Nice and clean, nice and easy. There is a way to do this with the kettlebell where it's wedged underneath and the handle's down, pointing down and you're underneath it. But that takes a little bit more practice to get into position and confidence doing a single arm swing with a heavier kettlebell. Looks something like this. All right, and then putting it down, I do the reverse. But honestly, like I said, that's a little bit more technical, requires a little bit more time to develop that skill. Probably better spent focusing on just building your strength and the fundamentals, okay? Once we start progressing off of there, some of the variations we want to put on there is maybe offloading it or offsetting it so that one side is working harder. So it gets a little bit more of that stabilizing trunk effect. Now what we've always used has been the offset kettlebell front squat, which you clean the bell up and you keep it in the rack position on one side. Okay? Now we do make the clean a significant part of the skills that you're learning for this very reason. Just getting it into position is important. But even for people who have practiced it, not everyone comfortably holds that amount of weight in the position, and it winds up their wrist starts getting bent away, and what happens is they wind up, it's pulling them away. So now we're back to that problem of using more bicep and it's more weight than they can do. It's a challenging position to learn how to hold. So a version that I saw, that I've seen sort of popping up a little bit more and more recently, and which, to give credit where credit is due, I finally watched and read the explanation for was Clifton Harsky. You can look him up on social media if you want to see who I'm talking about. But it's like a palm racked front squat. So you're still getting the offset version, but it's actually a lot easier to hold. I tried it out myself. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing this in the programs as a variation a little bit more. And how that looks, you're still going to do a clean, but when you bring it up, you catch it in the palm of the opposite hand and hold it across here. So it's a lot easier to hold. You're basically balancing it there. Looks like this. Okay? So you see how that's now in the palm, still offsetting. It's off to one side. This hand is just helping balance it there. And believe me when I say, it is a lot easier to hold that in the rack position when it's the palm racked. So that's what it is when you see it in your program and it says, what will it be labeled? Palm racked offset front squat, offset kettlebell front squat. It will be a kettlebell because there isn't really a way to do it with a dumbbell. I think that if you were, I think if you're going to do it with the dumbbell, you're just going to have your hands underneath. So to offset it with a dumbbell, it would be the resting on the shoulder. Okay, so if you're going to offset, see how that's resting on the shoulder. But even compared to that, these are roughly the same weight. That palm version, way better. Give it a try. If we don't tell you to give it a try, let us know what you think about it in the comments. And as always, train smart, train hard, keep fit, have fun.